Hey guys, this is going to be a premiere on this channel both before and after the Starcraft 2 reboot. I'm going to dive back into casting. I'm casting a VOD here from the Wardy TV Summer Championship of one of my favorite Protoss players, Zoun or Zoun, against Cure. Both of them are incredibly strong, and I'm going to be watching this game to see if there's anything to learn, see if there's anything to enjoy. Well, I hope you enjoy the cast, and if you like it, make sure to let me know, both by a like on the video as well as a comment, that I know, hey, do you guys prefer casts or do you prefer gameplay? And if you have other ideas, let me know as well. Do you want to see co-op rather, or more one-on-one, Protoss or Zerg? Whatever you're thinking, let me know. I'm going to try to make the best possible content for you guys here on YouTube, and also for the other guys at Twitch, but I prefer you guys. Don't tell them. Have a good video. Cheers. Alright guys, what up? Here is the first StarCraft 2 cast of a pro game that I'm going to be doing for the YouTube channel and for Twitch. So let's have a good one. This game, actually, I watched it before, but it is so insane that I want everyone to watch it with me. Plus, as a Protoss apprentice, there's not a game that I could watch more than this one. It was so much fun, it was so educational, especially as someone whose lowest win rate is Protoss versus Terran. And in general, Zoun, such a crazy player to watch. And of course, Cure is one of the specialists of Terran versus Protoss, or so my chat has told me. This is from the Wardy Summer Championship. Wardy doing such a good work. He just got a new puppy, Ellie. If you're looking for a playmate, Wardy, if you ever get to see this, please consider my Logan. He would surely love to play with Ellie. Anyway, this is on Romanticide. Zoun won the first game with a Phoenix Oper against the Hellion Proxy. And this is going to be a factory opener once again from Cure. So, Cybercore at 20 foot, then into a Nexus, into a Pylon, and a second gas is going to be the opener for Protoss. That's something actually I've been doing wrong. I've been going 20 Nexus into 20 Core against Terran, and it cost me some unit timing that has made certain early attacks hard to defend. But luckily my chat set me straight, and I went to watch this VOD and other VODs, and I realized, yeah, I am getting it wrong. I'm doing a PvZ opener against PvT. So we're going to see Cure set up for an expansion after opening with a barracks, one Marine just to remove the probe from the equation, into a reactor and a factory. Now, keep in mind that the Protoss, that Zoun, doesn't know right now that Cure is doing one thing or another. Doesn't know that its factory could be triple barracks, leading to a 5-minute pressure play with stim and combat shields. It could be Hellions, like we're seeing right here. And this is also the build that Cure used in the first game, but in that game, there was a starport proxy by Cure. And that means that you can drop 4 Hellions at 353 in the Protoss main base or natural expansion. So what you do as a Protoss is you make a couple of adepts for defense and attack. You scout with the shade so you don't lose the adept. And then you see, hey, 2 Hellions, 2 Marines, and a factory with a reactor. That's interesting. Now, let's talk about what Zoun knows at this time. He knows there's 2 Hellions and 2 Marines, no bunker on the expansion. He knows there's an expansion that has been made. But what he doesn't know is if the 3rd and 4th unit from the factory are also Hellions, leading to 4 Hellion play, or if those are going to be Widow Mines, followed up by a starport with a medevac and maybe a double Widow Mine drop. It is in fact 4 Hellions, but they're not hitting quite as early as in game number 1. Now, why do you normally need the medevacs for Hellions? You can't heal them with the medevac, so why do you need them? Well, what Protosses often do if they see 2 to 4 Hellions, they do a temporary wall-off on the front natural. And with those 4 Hellions missing and the wall-off complete, Zoun should be aware that they could be getting proxied again, even though he did try to send his probe around the map to check for any proxied starports.
Extra Marines coming up, the stim pack is starting.
So his Stalkers don't know where the Hellions are going to be dropped. That's why they're on the ramp. They could be dropped in the main, they could be dropped in the natural, and that's why they're standing in between. But with Blink not finished, I don't feel like he is truly safe against this attack. No shield battery in his main, no shield battery in his natural. He does have a pylon warning at the natural so that he could try to pull his units quickly. And he also knows that the timing for the 4 Hellion proxy starport is 3 minute 53. And by the time it's 4:11, even though you may think that's a small difference, that's already passed too far. That's I mean, this is a pro player. This is 18 seconds late. There's no way it is that anymore. Even as a mind game, that's almost never true. So the 4 Hellions were made for scouting as a threat to keep the Protoss safe, honest or whatever at home, but they didn't actually end up doing anything, and that's not a good opening for Cure. There's a 7 worker lead right now for Zoun, and this is a normal healthy lead when you don't get harassed. Imagine if Hellions killed like 5 workers, that could be really bad for the Protoss. Now Zoun went for a 5-minute Nexus on the 3rd base. He's following up with a nice charge on Templar Archives. He's been on 3 gases and is now heading up to 4th. And the Templar Archives can either be for Archons or for 1 High Templar to kill a Raven if there's going to be a Raven play, or it can be for High Templar with Storm. He now sees, hey, first stim has been used. It's minute 5:40, normal timing for stim. It's fairly heavy barracks play, and he sees the 2 medevacs that are still at home. And that's one of the things that these Stalker pressure plays achieve, is they see medevacs at home. And roughly Protosses have an idea of how many medevacs there could be at any time in the game. And the fact that there's 2 at home means he's probably not getting dropped. Now there's a Marine and a Widowmine. The Marine was actually standing on top of the Widowmine, which has a little telltale crater that shows that it is there. And he's managed to absorb the Widowmine shot with a Blink Stalker dodge. The Widowmine actually hit the Warp Prism, but only for the shields because it was not a direct collision. That could have caught anyone's Warp Prism off guard, but not Zoun. He was aware of it, either he knows the trick, or he actually saw the crater below the Marine, so that was pretty sick. Well, so far we have had 3 barracks play from Cure after the factory early, 3 barracks into command center, and now going to the 4th and the 5th. So very classical play. Stim has been finished for a long time. He's now getting concussive, 1 attack upgrade and combat shields to finish, and that leads to him to be able to do a bit of a timing attack. All those upgrades finishing perfectly aligned with his attack coming. Maybe he's 10 seconds late with the warp, with the move out, but of course Stalkers were there to try and stop him. A 7 minutes 15 seconds attack. Protoss is very well saturated with probes, 66 probes against just 50 SCVs, and has a healthy number of Stalkers. He's got his Adept that was carried over from the early game, and he manages to fend this off. The turnaround from Cure tells Protoss, you're safe for now, and he immediately starts double forge, extra gateways, and continues with Immortal production. Now the Templar Archive exists, but I don't see it being used just yet. As he blinks forwards and gets 2 medevacs. Ah, there we go. 2 High Templars, 1 with Storm, the other died. Very low unit lost on tap so far for Zoun. So he went for the early War Prism with 2 High Templars and Storm. That has been his play. Now start the upgrades, and an 8-minute 4th is an incredibly sharp timing for a Protoss that is really only possible when you haven't taken a whole lot of damage. He's at 130 food against 108. The wall off against the Hellions, the decision for Cure not to drop them in the base, have led Zoun to take very little damage, and he's really been on top of a very clean macro and flow. We have 5 Stalkers in position to stop a medevac drop with Widowmines. That's something that often works against me. My god, do I hate getting dropped by Widowmines. And he's seeing that medevac, and Cure is flying right past. So this is the timing that you see Protoss adding cannons to his mineral lines. It still needs quick reactions, and here's a really sweet move from Cure. You can't see this, so you can't react to it, and boom, there goes 4 probes. There's another one here that kills 1 probe, but the cannons are in position. Very key to have 1 cannon per base, just like my chat told me. But you gotta be on top of those timings when Terrans feel like they can start to flex their multitask muscles and drop some of those Widowmines. And you still need to pull back your probes if medevac drops multiple Widowmines. Now, if there's no armory, these Widow Mines will be revealed after they shoot. But since the armory is finished, Widow Mines get a passive immediate upgrade that hides them until you actually bring a detector like Cannon, Oracle Revelation, or Observer. Cure is now moving out with a rather big army. This Widow Mine keeps popping off here on the top of the ramp. We have Stalker Immortal Zealot army with High Templars inside the War Prism so that he can use them without getting EMP'd by the ghosts. Very key move. And after his initial decision to get Storm, as I usually see Zoun open up with Colossi first, he's bringing in the Colossi eventually. War Prism is following, in fact going for a flank. If War Prism flank can get Storms against the cutoff point, that would be huge. But he's not able to do so just yet. Those are pretty sick Storms, lacking the huge connections that really wipe an army, but so much softening up is being done. And that makes Protoss being able to move out. I see presence of blue in the middle bottom of the map. And here is where Zoun starts his power play. He starts bringing his army, putting it in front of the Terran base, and just containing the Terran on 3 bases. He sees the EMPs, he sees the Widow Mine, so he pulls back, and he stays here for a while. As Thermal Lance finishes, the next 2 Colossi coming in, Zoun keeps working on extra gateways. His 4th is getting nicely saturated, he's at 74 workers, but he's not over-probing, that would make his army too small. He just keeps going to make more army, with 2-2 on the way. Cure here is up against it. He's trying to get a second attack upgrade. He'll be 2-1. But there's so many forms of area of effect damage against him, between Archons, High Templar and Colossi, that there's not much he can do until he gets something to stop the Colossi. Normally, I would say, we call the time of death. This Protoss army looks too powerful for Cure to take on. There's 4 Colossi. He's lost way more. He's down in bases. Protoss is taking his 5th. He's down 50 pop. This should normally be it. But just like those books that foreshadow a late game that you couldn't expect, the same is true here. Spoiler, yes, but somehow Cure is going to break out of this, and that is insane. Just 2 High Templar into Colossi is indeed interesting, Lloyd, who said that in Twitch chat. I usually don't see this either. When I make a Templar Archives and I go for Storm, I'll get multiple High Templar. 1 to defend every base, 4 in my army, as much as I have gas for. But it was just a really short transition here, and sometimes they can work out really nicely. Having those High Templar in the Prism is a pocket strategy, a tool, a Swiss Army knife. And then you go into Colossi and the Vikings may be delayed because they already invested in Ghost Tech. Now you may wonder, why doesn't Terran just send a couple of medevacs around the side against the undefended Protoss bases? 5 bases, they need to be stopped. And that's what I could usually lose to, is a big drop. But this is such a big army after such a good early game from Zoun that if he does that, with Protoss continually prodding and checking and seeing, hey, how much army do you have here, he may just be overrun in all of his bases as a Colossus drop happens here. Yeah, well, okay, 3 SCVs for Colossus. But you know, this wasn't just to do SCV damage. 6 Colossi is too much against growing numbers of Vikings. You want other types of splash damage. So he decided he's going to sacrifice a Colossus for however much economic damage he could do. He wants to replace it with disruptors, and he might as well kill it himself. But in this way, he gets 4 SCVs and a bit of a distraction. Whether Protoss had enough to go all in is really a question. Terran had set up such a big concave, and he has reinforcements coming in with Widow Mines and Vikings. And Colossi don't like shooting in a semicircle of 160 degrees. So I don't think he really wanted to have that happen. Cool few Widow Mines against the anticipated Zealot run-bys that happen often on the 3rd base. We see a big attack here from Cure coming in with Vikings actually murdering Colossi. Disruptors and Colossi are getting slaughtered. 2 Colossi are already down, 2 to 3 Disruptors are down. The Zealot attack got stopped by 3 staggered Widow Mines and a couple of Marine Marauder. Cure has broken out. Quick EMP on the High Templar. And Protoss is back to his own Nexus. He does have batteries here. He has got cannons. But the Vikings are going in. They're slaughtering more and more Colossi. He knows he's going to sacrifice them, but he just wants to take out as many as he can. And he's got everything except one. Yep, all the Colossi are down. We now have a full ground army from Zoun. It's so hard not to fall apart in situations like these. But he does have the 2-2 Zealots. He's got the gates, he's got the counter war pins. And Terran also run out of steam. So Cure is running back. So then they fall back on the bases that they have. We have 77 workers for Protoss, 56 workers for Terran. With 3 disruptors at a time being warped in from the robo facility by Zoun. Meanwhile, we have ghosts coming out. No more Viking production. No medevacs right now either. Feels like he has enough medevacs. And he killed all the Colossi, so he thinks, yeah, I'll play without Vikings for a bit. But you know what I would like? Widow Mines would be pretty good against this army. It's a lot of Zealots, a lot of gateway units. There is, of course, the threat that Widow Mines get blown up by disruptors. And I think that's the reason usually the Terrans at high level might be afraid of Disruptor. Whoa, big 11 Dark Templar warping. 11 Dark Templar with Blink coming out as well. It's going to be a nice side stab, roguish moment coming up. We have 3-3 upgrades finished for Protoss already against 2-2 from the Terran. He's got 1 shield upgrade coming in just for a little bit of extra protection on buildings and units.
Back on the Protoss side of things, but if you just have a quick peek at the mini-map, we are on 6 bases. And this is the first time we've really seen the Terran.
We even have air attacks coming out and a Stargate. So we're going to see either Tempest, Void Ray, Carrier or Mothership. My guess would be Tempest normally to snipe some stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, when was he meant to move out?
We have a lot of ghosts coming out. We already have 1 on the field, 5 coming out, 3 medevacs at a time being produced. And Protoss has a lot of the map. 5 bases against 4. He's making his 6th. It's almost finished. Still 77 workers. Very disciplined not to spam probes. I sometimes just squeeze in a round of probes randomly, but he's really mastered his discipline to stop pushing probes when he feels he has enough, and I really respect that. It's not easy. Once you build that muscle memory to spam that button every now and then, it can easily get out of control. I can stop anytime you say, but you realize that you've put your hand in the cookie jar once again, and your mouth is full of crumbs. Big bang starting to happen for Zoun. That means he needs to start investing in additional Stargates and Fleet Beacon if he wants to make use of that. And there we go, 3 Stargates and the Fleet Beacon. There's a lot of disruptors here. The DT are actually hiding by not moving. They are perceived less easily. We have a big flanking attack. Look at what Cure is doing here on the minimap. Part of his army is there, part of his army is there. He could try to squeeze around the disruptor army. That's the key of dealing with them. Oh, big EMP on the DT. He kills them so cost efficiently. That's so much resources lost here for the Protoss as disruptor shots are corralling the Terran into a corner. He's losing so many units here. Cure, can he pick up his units and run? No, he's just going to stand and fight GG. And actually, I thought I was casting a different game that actually ended differently. This one was not as close as I thought. I watched another game on this map with Zoun, and it went way longer. But it was still really good, especially as a Protoss. There was a game that ended in a base trade. Debated. This is not the game. We'll watch another one. Hope you enjoyed it anyway. Let's go for my next ladder game.